Texas currently has the 47th ranked recruiting class in the country, but thankfully for us, recruiting rankings are not equal to recruiting momentum.
You are Locked On Longhorns, your daily podcast on the Texas Longhorns. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
On Longhorns, the show. Jonathan Davis, your host. Today's episode of Locked On Longhorns is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/Locked On today to get started. On today's episode of Locked On Longhorns, we're discussing your favorite football team's recruiting momentum, which far outweighs their ranking. Then we're talking about two priority targets who will announce their commitment tomorrow: Jordon, Johnson-Rubell, and Parker Livingstone. And last but not least, I get some of your YouTube comments on the show. On today's episode of Locked On Longhorns, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And as always, if you enjoy the show and you're watching on YouTube, please like, please subscribe. I'm always thankful for your support. Now, we're talking about Texas's recruiting momentum today because they currently sit at 47th in terms of their recruiting class, and we know that Texas will not end up with the 47th ranked recruiting class in the country, and there are not 46 schools hotter on the recruiting trail than the Texas Longhorns right now. Part of the reason that Texas is only 47th in their recruiting class is because they only have 8 commits, and that is based off an aggregate score. So a school that has 15, 16 plus commits at this point is naturally going to be higher because they have more players to add to their score. A better way to look at recruiting rankings at this point, so early in the cycle on the last day of June, is class average, because that puts everybody on a level playing field, regardless of the number of commits in your class. It's an average, right? And Texas is in the top 15 in that metric compared to 47th in overall ranking, right? Across 8 commits, they have a 90.37 average score. And I think they'll end up in the top 10 in their overall ranking and definitely in class average when some of these high 4-star and 5-star players start to commit to the University of Texas. And yesterday, we found out that Texas had more momentum on the trail than we thought, because Steve Wiltfong, the director of football recruiting for 24/7 Sports, he entered an expert prediction yesterday for Texas to land Ryan Wingo, 5-star wide receiver out of St. Louis, Missouri, 6'2", 205 pounds, number 24 overall player in the country, according to the composite. Very dynamic, very explosive, somebody that could be dominant in Steve Sarkisian's system. And it would help soften the blow if you were to lose Micah Hudson to Texas Tech. Micah Hudson, one of the best receivers in the country, the best receiver in the state of Texas. If he were to go to Texas Tech, that would be a big loss. But Ryan Wingo come in would definitely soften that blow because, like I said, he could be dominant in Steve Sarkisian's system, one of the best players in the country. And we know when Steve Wiltfong, if you follow recruiting, when he puts in a Fong bomb, it's typically true, right? And so yesterday, when we saw the Fong bomb for Ryan Wingo to come to the University of Texas, we were excited, right? Because 2 weeks ago, when he visited the 40 acres, he wasn't on the visit weekend with Colin, Simmons, Jared Gibson, and Kobe Black, but he was there the weekend before. He was a Georgia lean at that point, right? Wiltfong had a prediction in for Georgia. And we started to hear rumblings since then that, Texas had become a bigger player in his recruitment, and he definitely could see himself at the University of Texas, but he was still a Georgia lean at that point. And yesterday we found out that now he is a Texas lean, and we would expect him to commit to the University of Texas. And if you follow recruiting, when Steve Wiltfong puts in that prediction, it's typically true, right? And here are the stats to prove it, right? They got their stats online like NBA players, right? 91.5% hit rate on crystal ball predictions all time on 4,273 predictions, a 92% hit rate. On the 2024 class specifically, a 97% hit rate on this cycle, right? So when Wiltfong puts in a Fong bomb, it's typically true. And I like to say make recruiting fun again, and this is my mini old man rant. I'm going to be 30 in 3 months. I just feel like, with these paid sites and these crystal balls and all of that, it takes away from the kid's moment. Like I said, he has a 92% hit rate on over 4,000 predictions. When he says something's going to happen, it's going to happen. He probably knows where my next career is before I do, right? And so now we all expect Ryan Wingo to commit to the University of Texas. And I think it would have just hit a little bit different if we thought we were on the outside looking in, and then we got the bomb, boom, he's coming to Texas, right? So, I just think that now too often in recruiting, we know where players are going to go before they announce it themselves. And I'm putting myself in the player's shoes because I was never good enough, obviously, to have a moment like this. But, I just wonder how it feels to them when it seems like everybody in the country knows where they're going to go before they even announce their commitment. I just feel like the commitments don't hit the same nowadays the way that they used to. And that's based on these paid sites, crystal balls, and all the information we have, but there's a market for it and they put out really good information. And that's just the current state of college football recruiting. All right, now I'm off my soapbox. I'm off the ring, right? Obviously, getting Ryan Wingo would be huge for this class. And like I mentioned, Texas is 47th right now, but I think they're sitting on a top 15, top 10 class once all of these players commit and once it's all said and done. So if you're looking at the recruiting class calculator on 24/7 Sports, and I'm going to try to share my screen here so you can see me do it live. This is my first time ever doing this on the show, so just bear with me here. So as you can see, Texas only has a 149.94 score with 8 commits. So let's add Ryan Wingo, who is predicted by Steve Wiltfong to come to Texas. We calculate that it goes up to 172.74. That would put you at 34th in the country behind Wake Forest. Ew, but you're making movement, right? That would move you up 13 spots with just one player. So let's take it a step further and add Colin Simmons, who most people believe will be headed to the University of Texas, could commit as early as July. That takes you up to 194.80. That would move you up to 25th in the country behind Arkansas. Ew again. All right, now let's put in Kobe Black, who most people expect, to commit to the University of Texas, one of the best corners in the country, 5-star out of Waco. That puts you at 214.43 with 11 commits. That would put you at 15th in the country behind South Carolina. So like I mentioned, Texas is 47th in the country in terms of their recruiting ranking, but they are not 47th in recruiting momentum. This will be a top 10 class. They will be top 10 in class average. We have to give credit to our staff who have been able to go in states since they've been at the University of Texas, like Louisiana, New Jersey, Florida, Hawaii, California, and now possibly St. Louis, Missouri, to get some of the best players in the nation and to take some of the best players in the nation from some of the top programs in college football. They have been excellent on the recruiting trail, and that may continue tomorrow when we talk about 2 priority targets who will be announcing their commitment after a quick word from our sponsors. Take your first swing at betting MLB on FanDuel and get 10 times your first bet amount in bonus bets up to $200. That's right. Just bet $20 and you'll land $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. That's $200. You can spend betting everything from the money line to the over-under to who you think is going to hit the first home run, all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Plus, when you win, you can get paid instantly. There's no better place to bet on MLB than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So sign up today and visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get up to $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, the official partner of Major League Baseball. Go Rangers. All right, so we're talking about 2 targets tomorrow who will be announcing their commitment. They both have expert predictions from Steve Wiltfong to the University of Texas. And as I mentioned, he has a 92% hit rate all time, 97% this year on the 2024 class. He gets better with age, right? So Parker Livingstone from Lucas, Texas, Lovejoy High School, 294 overall player in the country, according to the composite, number 44 wide receiver in the nation. What I love about Parker Livingstone, great size, 6'3", 185, big body receiver with great ball skills, right? Catching the ball over his shoulder, catching the ball in traffic. It's all on tape, reliable hands, right? Like I said, catching the ball in traffic. If the ball is in his area, he goes out and gets it. Not a body catcher, a hands catcher. Wins 50-50 balls, right? I like to say with players like him, they're not 50-50. It's more 70-30, 75-25 in favor of Parker Livingstone. That shows up on tape. That would be great in Steve Sarkisian's offense. What seems like it has to be mandatory for you to play in Steve Sarkisian's offense is you have to be a deep threat. And when you look at his highlight tape, it's screens and 9 routes. So like that's literally all it is. It's either a screen or he's running down the field. And he does that really well. Excellent deep threat, great speed, ran a 21.69 in the 200. So somebody that can win the jump ball, somebody that can beat DBs down the field, a big body receiver, a friendly target for whoever his quarterback is going to be. Love this move. Fully expect him to commit to the University of Texas tomorrow when he makes his announcement. Jordon Johnson-Rubell, 5'10", 180-pound safety, plays way bigger than that out of IMG Academy in Florida. Teammates with current Texas commit Jarrett Gibson. Number 133 nationally, number 10 safety in the country. What I love about Jordon Johnson-Rubell is he can play safety, corner, or nickel. So he definitely brings some versatility to Pete Kwiatkowski's defense. He's comfortable playing in the box, right? And I think that's very important, especially in today's game. You have to be able to play that 1 high or 2 high safety look and be the eraser, the last line of the defense. But you also have to be able to come down and help in run support, right? And also be able to blitz the quarterback. You just have to be versatile as a safety. Jordon Johnson-Rubell fits that mold. He also can cover in man or play deep in zone. So I mentioned if he's in that one high or two high safety look, he can be very effective being the last line of your defense, but he can come down in man coverage when you need him to and cover running backs and tight ends and maybe some receivers out of, well, not out the backfield, but cover receivers as well. He's that versatile. He's that talented. And he was one of the best players on an IMG defense that allowed 3 points per game. 3 points per game is absolutely insane. One of the best players in the country. And I fully expect him as well to commit to the University of Texas tomorrow over schools like Michigan, TCU, and others. So let's go back to the class calculator if we can. And we are going to see what would happen if we were to add Parker Livingstone and Jordon Johnson-Rubell. That would jump you up to 13 commits with a score of 237.36, which would put you right now as the number 8th recruiting class in the country. I didn't have time to calculate the average, but you obviously would be a lot higher if you added 3 5-stars and 2 4-stars to that. So like I said, Texas currently 47th in the country in terms of their recruiting ranking, but they are definitely a lot higher than that in terms of momentum, and they will end up with the top 10 class when it's all said and done. A quick word from our sponsors, and then we're going to read some of your YouTube comments on the show. All right, so let's get to some of your comments. All right. Love the new pop quiz segment, my man, and those beats were fire. They definitely were fire. Shout out to StreamYard for having some good music on deck. But the pop quiz segment was really fun and something that I'm definitely going to incorporate more often in the future on the show. And I appreciate everybody that participated, whether you commented it or not. If you even tried to answer the questions, I really appreciate you engaging with the show. Trey Owens probably won't see the field, but at least he will be developed. Look, we got to trust Steve Sarkisian, AJ Milwee, and their eval over what we see on these recruiting sites. I know he's a 3-star. I know he's ranked as the 32nd quarterback in the country, but that does not mean he would not play at the University of Texas. We made this same mistake with Malik Murphy. We have to let these kids commit, and compete before we start talking about, they need to transfer and they're not going to play here, right? We don't know what Trey Owens is going to do at the University of Texas. We don't know how good he's going to be in practice, right? Trust Steve Sarkisian, trust AJ Milwee, trust their eval over what you see on these recruiting sites, right? Just because it says he's a 3-star doesn't mean he'll play like a 3-star. Example, Jalen Ford. Let's go. Let's keep going. Texas has to show that they're one of the top programs in college football like they were under Mack Brown. The only way they can do it is by beating teams like Alabama, Michigan, and the Georgia Bulldogs. Well, looky here. They just happen to be on your schedule over the next 2 years. But I agree. If Texas is serious about being in that top echelon of college football, you're going to have to go through teams like that to get there. That portal has been a boom situation for the Horns. Thanks, Jonathan, for the info. As always, hook 'em. Thank you, Walter, for being an avid supporter since day one. Let's go. Bro, has anybody ever told you favor Jonathan Majors? I hear it all the time, literally. And I used to deny it all the time until my mama said it, right? If my mama tell me I look like somebody, I probably look like him, right? So I couldn't argue that anymore. This is the year of no excuses. We have to turn the corner. Pressure is on, and I believe we are ready. I believe we are ready as well, Michael Garza. If Texas does not win the Big 12 this year, it would be one of the biggest disappointments in recent memory. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Locked On Longhorns, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hook 'em. Peace. Enjoy your July 4th weekend. Stay safe and stay cool if you can. Peace.